Hello everyone, this is Shekhania of Sri Venkateshwar College of Engineering pursuing my 6th semester. Today we are here to cover the subject full stack development and we will be covering few topics related to this subject. So we have introduction to FSD, that is full stack development. What is Django loops, Django loop tag, loop variables and some applications with example. Moving forward, firstly to know about Django loops or variables, firstly we need to know what Django is. So Django is a free and open source Python based web framework that runs on a web server. It follows a model template view architecture, that is MTV architecture. So Django is a backend server side web framework. Django is free, open source and written in Python. Django makes it easier to build web pages using Python. So these are some of the advantages of Django or what basic Django means. So our topic today to cover is for loops, and that in that we are covering the variables. So what is for loop? A for loop is used for iteration over a sequence, like looping over items in an array, a list or a dictionary. So we have few examples. The loop through an item of list. So we can see that examples where loop with dictionaries, loop which can fetch from database and loop which can fetch from list. So this will fetch the list category items, it will fetch the dictionaries and fetch the items from a given database. So our main topic is loop variables. So how many types? So there are almost 7 types of loop variables, that are for loop counter 0, for loop first, for loop last, for loop parent loop, reverse counter and reverse counter 0. So first is for loop counter. So in this the counting iteration starts from the 1. So if they are, for example, if we have for x in fruits and if we put the for loop counter, it will start giving the calculation from the 1, 2, 3 and 5 in sequence order starting from 1. So in Python, you can see the fruit objects look like this. So basically when we execute this for the given content and database and giving this for loop counter, it will start from the index 0. Index 0, it won't start. It will start from index 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So moving for loop counter 0, in this the iteration will start from 0. Before in the previous, when there was no 0 given in front of counter, it would have started from 1. But now when they have given 0, it will start from iteration 0. So they will start from 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. In the Python we can see the fruit objects look like this. So it will start from the index counting 0. So there's a difference between loop counter and loop counter 0. The next is for loop counter last, that is for loop last. In this allows a test if the loop is on its last iteration. So it checks if the loop is in the last iteration. So we this example, like for x in fruits, if for loop dot last and we have a background set and the sequence. So we have apple, banana, cherries, oranges, kiwi. In the Python you may look like fruits like this. So if there's a given database and if there's a given um, list of items, and if we in that and if we put the for loop counter last, so this will be the filing output with given program. So next, after the for loop last, we have for loop first. Just inverse of that. In this, the loop test checks if it is in the first iteration. So we have basic program for example program in which we are applying for loop first to check the sequence of fruits, and we have the following output given. Next is for loop reverse counter. The current iteration if you start at the end and counts back ending up to a 1. So this is the function which for loop reverse counter does, and we have the example program, that is for x in fruits for loop reverse counter end. So it starts with the reverse and goes till 1, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So if we have like index from 0 to 5, it starts from reverse like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and it just ends with a 1. And even if there are 10 numbers, it starts from 10 and ends with a 1. Next is for loop reverse counter. The current iteration if you start at the end and counts back ending up to 0. The same what we seen in the previous, it was starting from the reverse and ending at 1, but in this it will start from reverse and end at 0. So basically if we have like 10, so it will start from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. It includes 0 too. So if we apply for any program, we apply for loop reverse counter, it will start from reverse and end up till 0. So as we seen some of the loop variables which has various functions, that first reverse counter 0, reverse counter 1, or counter 1. So to check if the iteration starts from 0 or the iteration ends with 0, or it is in the first phase, last phase. So with these variables we can check what position the iteration is using the for loops. Hope you like the PPT. Thank you.